Well, hello there, and a top of the morning to you, afternoon or evening, whatever the case may be. It's afternoon here, 1300 hours in rather sunny Alberta, Canada. It's so good to see a few people in the house already. Christopher, it's nice to see you. And today we're going to be having a casual chit chat about some numismatics, but we'll cover a little bit about what's been going on way back when in James Bay, uh, carrying on from last week's session where Iberville had gone through such a tremendous trek north to James Bay, and it was actually showed us not exactly the kind of world that we would like to live in today. But now it's a few years later, and he's back at it again, heading north towards James Bay again. And it's not exactly the sort of adventure that any of us would want to go on, but this is a real proof of the pudding that this is the sort of thing that went on during those horrendous periods. I see Tupac's in, David's in the house. Welcome aboard. It's going to be a rather interesting day today. Again, it's going to be a little bit more casual today. I'm going to put the link in. Anybody wants to come up right away, they can. I would prefer to chit chat with folks, and we'll try to cover some of this material that's sitting here, because we're dealing with back in July of 1687, and actually 1687 to 1697. So it's a fair stretch of period where there's a lot going on. Iberville took a squadron up north towards Hudson Bay, and his flagship was a 150-man, 50-gun ship by the name of the Pelican, and he took it up there to again deal a blow with his adversaries, the British, and they were adamant about getting control of the fur trade and all the bounty that could be had in northern Canada for France. Flash in your pan. You're doing me. Dig the crazy shirt that I was given for me birthday. I'm kind of proud of this one. It finally shows exactly who I am. Well, that's all right. I'm actually in the process of growing my hair and my beard out, getting ready for the holiday season. Believe it or not, it takes a few months to get ready. So I got to put up with a furry face all summer long. And my good buddy Marlon over at Mirror Videos, he's been busy trekking around with his Japanese fire truck, doing his metal detecting and pretending that he was some sort of UFO. I see, which was kind of comical. But by all means, you feel up to it, throw a like in the chat there, and we'll discuss a little bit about what went on with Iberville and his squadron. It looks like he had 3 warships, including the Profound and the Wasp, and the Palmer, as well as his flagship. And they also had a supply ship called the Equimo. And sounds like a fairly small fleet, but you remember we're on the lakes. We're not in the oceans. But when they finally got up into James Bay and to that area of Hudson Bay, where it's, you can well imagine a wooden sailing vessel in an area that's resplendent with icebergs and polar bears and all the rest of that stuff. Not exactly the most conducive to any comforts. And it took them approximately, oh, that's not too bad, 2 weeks to get up to that area. No, it wasn't the War of 1812. We're talking 1697 in this case. Yeah, apparently they had quite a time trying to get through because of the a number of icebergs. He referred to them as floating mountains. They continually force them to alter course to avoid collision. Keeping in mind, if any of you know the displacement that a iceberg has, there's a lot more of it underwater than there is showing above the surface. So you pretty well had to take a wide berth to avoid these things. Yeah, as he described, it was kind of like watching clouds drifting by upon the water. There were so many of them. He's saying that two of the giants were 500 feet high, and they would occasionally clash together like thunder. Now, I've seen videos on icebergs clashing off the coast of Newfoundland, and they were quite an impressive sight. Yes, yeah, there were sea battles all throughout the Great Lakes as well. But this predates the War of 1812 by quite a while. This is actually more. This is between the British and the French. Remember that we're still talking that North America is considered New France, but all the monarchs laid claim to the areas throughout all the way down into the United States, and they would set up communities and forts and would be constantly clashing. Well, this is getting up into the north part of the country, where they're really trying to enhance their ability to draw funds from the native population by uh, grabbing a hold of the fur. Yeah, the other thing that they noticed when they were going through there was that a lot of these icebergs occasionally would flip, which is quite a sight to see. So they wound their way up and through these floating mountains, and the French squadron eventually made it through, believe it or not, without any casualties. Of course, one of the warships did lose a mizzenmast during a real close call. So near disasters did take place getting up that way. So only with great difficulty was her crew saved by the others, but their vital supplies went down with the Esquimaux. Day after day, the squadron battled wind and ice. Navigation, hazardous at best of times, became almost suicidal when storms raked the strait. One such gale on July 24th raged for 9 hours. When the wind at last subsided, the Pelican was herself a floating iceberg shrouded in ice from peak to waterline. Her rigging and sails were frozen solid, as was her lookout in the crow's nest, who was forced to brave the discomfort to warn those below of approaching danger. Keeping in mind, these are wooden sailing ships, and the rigging that they're talking about, it wasn't easy to get up into the rigging. And when it's even in nice weather, it was quite a task to get up there, especially into the crow's nest. So these ships were absolutely completely covered with ice. So you can well imagine the difficulty trying to get up and act as a as a lookout to avoid the big bergs. And I see Patriot Prospecting in the house. Welcome aboard. So Iberville did his best to keep on course. When the storm eased, he found that he was alone. The others had disappeared during the gale. Concerned for their safety, Iberville decided to wait for them to catch up and secured alongside a small berg with grappling hooks. For days, the Pelican waited. Her crew enjoyed the respite by hunting, fishing, and trading with some Eskimos who appeared on the scene. But when the others failed to show, Iberville concluded that they had in fact passed him. Proceeding to Fort Nelson, he dropped anchor on September 5th, but the Profound, Wasp, and Palmer were not to be seen. For 2 more days, Iberville waited for his fleet, and finally on September 7th, his lookouts reported the approach of 3 sails, and the relieved French commander ordered his crew to fly the flags of welcome, amid universal joy at the safe arrival of their companions. Steadily, the ships approached the Pelican, but unaccountably, no response was made to the flagship's greeting, and Iberville, eyeing them through his glass, watched their progress with increasing bewilderment. The puzzle was solved with dramatic suddenness when the French realized that the three strangers approaching were not French but English. Rapidly bearing down on the Pelican were the 52-gun frigate Hampshire, the 30-gun Daring, and the 32-gun Hudson Bay, the latter an armed merchantman. Together, they mounted 114 guns and mustered more than 300 men against Iberville's 50 guns and 150 men. As for missing consorts, he had no clue as to their position, being unaware that the English squadron had surprised the Profound while she was grappled to an ice floe. For 6 hours, the attackers had broadsided the stranded victim, only to watch the ice, perhaps weakened by the barrage, broken up, and the Profound, although apparently wounded, sailed beyond range and out of sight. At this, the English had continued on to Fort Nelson, where they surprised Iberville in the worst possible position between them and the guns of the fort. Fortunately for those aboard the Pelican, Iberville's stout heart never failed. The French commander tersely entered in his log, seeing they were English, I prepared to fight them. Immediately upon sighting the 3 approaching ships, he had ordered the Pelican underway to meet them. Upon realizing that they were hostile, he proceeded on this course, as gunners priming their cannons as he proceeded. In command of the upper cannon was his younger brother Jean-Baptiste de Benville, 16-year-old midshipman and future governor of Louisiana, stationing his most experienced men under the Poré and Saint Martin. On the upper or forward deck, Iberville took his station near the pilot and prepared for the fray, having already devised his battle plan. He's already outmanned by 2 to 1. I'm curious to see how this is going to happen. Outnumbered and outgunned, he would also be outmaneuvered as soon as he closed with the enemy, and he determined to board one of the antagonists at the earliest possible opportunity. In this way, rather than becoming the center of a circle of fire, he would force the other ships to withhold their fire in order not to hit their own sister. At the distance between the opposing ships rapidly narrowed, cheers erupted from the English seamen as they recognized their foe, one shouting, "You shall not escape us this time." The French answered their cheers with shouts of their own, the Pelican steadily advancing upon the Hampshire. Moments later, she was within range, and Iberville gave the order to fire. Just as the Pelican let loose her broadside, a large wave made her rise slightly, with the result that most of her shots missed, and the Hampshire altogether took effect in her rigging, although the other's hull was punctured and her pumps manned. All the while, Iberville had charged down onto the Hampshire. When the distance separating them had almost vanished, his men prepared for boarding, only to be disappointed when the captain of the English ship, suddenly realizing he was about to be isolated from his consorts, sheered off to one side and let the Pelican pass. Although disappointed, Iberville pointed to his bow towards the Daring and the Hudson Bay, which had been following closely the Hampshire's wake, driving between them like a wedge. He broadsided both, his starboard battery catching the Daring full square. his port taking the Hudson Bay. The effect of this daring maneuver was devastating. Both vessels were seriously injured. Their sails and rigging cut away, guns blown from their mounts, dead and wounded seamen sprawled about all about the bloody decks. In the time that had taken the Pelican to shatter the two smaller enemy vessels, the English ship had returned to the battle. Despite their injuries, neither the Daring nor the Hudson Bay had been eliminated from the contest, and to Iberville sailed straight to the Hampshire. They joined their flagship in battle line, the smaller vessels firing steadily. Broadside after broadside roaring at the Pelican, which shuddered under the impact, her rigging slashed and virtually useless. She lost some headway, but Iberville managed to keep the weather gauge, his crew miraculously having escaped casualty. On the Hampshire, the English commander, who had kept his own broadside in reserve, decided to board the Pelican. As Iberville vainly simulated his every maneuver, the Hampshire's captain closed the gap at full speed. Seconds later, they were within pistol range of each other when the Hampshire fired its broadside with an ear-shattering roar. The English ship belched flame, smoke, and cannonball. But instead of devastating the Pelican, the English, who had been spared serious injury when the lifting wave had spoiled Iberville's first barrage, suffered the same nuisance, their broadside going high. This time, Iberville was taking no chances. As the English gunners frantically reloaded, he closed with the Hampshire until they were yard arm to yard arm. As the Pelican dipped to the trough of a wave, the Hampshire crested, and Iberville ordered the gunners to fire. The broadside caught his opponent well below the waterline. Almost before the French realized what had happened, the Hampshire's sails spread, flags flying, was past them and gone, sunk with all hands. My goodness. I can well imagine that happening, where a wave comes up and they're doing a broadside, and the ship you're firing at catches a wave, and he basically caught the underbelly of the ship, and they're shooting the ships below the waterline. That's a guaranteed sinking there. The suddenness of the Hampshire's sinking caught all surviving ships off guard. For several minutes, firing stopped as all aboard the Pelican, Deering, and Hudson's Bay, stunned by the gruesome tragedy, lurched about on the weltering sea in apparent stupefaction. First to recover his composure was the master of the Daring, who loosed a final broadside at the distant Pelican without serious attempt at hitting the targets, then fled the scene, leaving the Hudson's Bay to her fate, as that vessel, unable to escape, had no choice but to surrender. When the English ensign was lowered, Iberville dispatched a 26-man prize crew and turned to the pursuit of the Daring. It immediately became apparent, however, that the Pelican was in no condition to give chase, and Iberville, after transferring the Hudson Bay officers and seamen to his own ship, cared for his 17 wounded. Seeing some here. What's going on here? I'm going to do a quick catch up here. We got. I am still looking for Coin World UK. He is not available because he is still in the process of moving, and as soon as he's moved, he'll have his internet set up and he'll be back on his computer. But apparently, his connection with his phone's really poor. So I miss my buddy, but he'll be back hopefully as soon as everything is set up in his new home. And I wish him all the best, because it has been a long time, but he's also been going through a lot with the move. It's not like here in North America. It's very, very hard to get yourself a new place in the UK. And fortunately for him, he's actually got a better place he's moving into, but they have to prepare it first. And that's my catch up with Dale at Coin World UK. He'll be back with us, along with Austrian Stacker, I hope. Yeah, he does do some uploads, but they're usually shorts, and usually he'll show a coin or two, and much like like mine, just a quick one and a little bit of background music. I believe his wife is also still uploading candies and stuff, which I gain weight just watching her videos. Okay, where did I leave off here? Driven before the gale, the Pelican struggled to stay afloat. When early in the evening, her rudder was carried away and she began to drive towards the shore. Iberville ordered an anchor put out, but the cable snapped almost immediately. Minutes later, the ship shuddered as she hit a sandbar, forced broadside to the seas. She lay on her side and right onto her beam, and the seas began to pound her and under. Several miles from shore, the dying Pelican shuddered again and again as her seams opened and she rapidly filled. Faced with no choice but to abandon ship and with most of her boats destroyed during the battle, Iberville had his men construct rafts of spars, masts, and timbers. When these were ready, the wounded were placed aboard, the uninjured taking their chances in the water. These, clinging to the sides of the rafts, propelled them through the waves by kicking their feet until they reached shallow water, when they were able to dog paddle and finally wade. The temperature of the water proved to be overpowering to many, and 18 failed to reach the shore, where the strongest labored to drag their wounded and exhausted companions on the beach. It's one thing that you have to envision is they've gone through a sea battle. They tried to tow a ship into shore, which failed because it got grounded onto a sandbar. The sailors managed to they ended up having to get into the water. And this is Hudson Bay now. Hudson Bay is extremely cold at the best of times. I mean, we're talking it's filled with icebergs, for Pete's sake. So when he's talking about 18 of them coming to the cold, it's not hard to imagine them suffering from hypothermia and ending up drowning. But he was fortunate enough to at least get some of his crew on board the shore, which is to his credit. That's pretty amazing. Then they ended up making crude shelters. They ended up getting some fires going on the shore to warm people up, and they did have some provisions, but not that much. He managed to save some guns and some gunpowder as well, which helped a little bit. And then he ordered his healthiest guys to go hunting, and that's one thing you well imagine in the area of Hudson Bay. They have some big critters up there, and they're not using the type of weapons that we have. So, I mean, they if they're lucky, they can get something like an Arctic fox and whatnot. But if they were, or maybe even some seal, or if lucky enough to get a bear, but I wouldn't want to challenge a polar bear. Okay, and because it was in such disarray, all those prisoners that Iberville had taken managed that at least 17 of them managed to escape, and they made their way to Fort Nelson. So here they are, barren tundra. Again, even though it's not the dead of winter, it's not very good climate, and they had to make their way all the way to Fort Nelson, which is quite a ways away. Well, now the Iberville is sitting waiting. He's worried about the remainder of the English coming back, uh, uh, and apparently a few of those that had escaped uh, gave up the walk and actually straggled back and surrendered, uh, just for the sake they could have something to eat and some heat, I guess. So eventually they ended up moving a few leagues towards the fort, and they managed to actually get into the fort, but they had to also navigate a treacherous marsh area as well. and apparently they lost some members in that as well. So I would say it was extraordinary luck that they managed to get to the fort, and despite the conditions that they had been living in and what they'd gone through. So now remember, this is an English fort they're going to. So, but the English had no, they'd had enough. No, these weren't all fighting men. They get it was garrisoned by only a few soldiers. Most these were mostly trappers, and they didn't have the heart to fight all these French that suddenly showed up in their doorstep. So they kind of opened up their door to them and let them in. Uh, it was more if you can describe it, it's more like a trading post with a palisade around it. So it wasn't exactly well defended. And they changed it. The French called it Camp Bourbon, Camp Bourbon. Yeah, it was quite the battle. So this is an example of the sort of things that went on in Canada, in the far north, and it again, it wasn't like you had major forces at each other. A lot of it was driven by money, and that they wanted to establish their presence and their dominion over the territories they're in. They continued to get the Aboriginal population stirred up, uh, either against each other or against the French or against the British, depending on what side you're on. And it was not exactly a nice time to live in North America. So be thankful you're living in the time that we're at now. And that's essentially it. It's again, it's the considered the Great Sea Battle, of Hudson Bay. And I'm glad I wasn't there. Mind you, though, if I was there and I'm still here now, I am looking really good for my age. Maybe hardtack. Yeah, there's. I've seen some of the ship's foods, and it's the hardtack that they used to have there. It was literally months, even years old. They would take that stuff and they would liquefy it as best they could so it was palatable. Eating it hard was really tough, but they knew how to survive, whether it was hardtack or whether they had pemmican or dried meats of sorts. So they did a lot of stuff was salted. But yeah, so if they got fresh meat when they were up there, all the power to them. So yeah, and I'll leave it at that. Next week we'll talk about the misfortune at Louisburg, and Louisburg will really get the guys going when we start talking about Louisburg and the Acadians and how so many of them ended up in New Orleans and down south. Oh yeah, it's quite the adventure in our history. Yeah. So today I am just basically setting up again, working on my books and sorting out my collections. Uh, Hanging around guys like Tupac, coining around, seeing what they're up to, and getting things ready so that my family, who will soon be moving in with me, will know that this area is kind of out of bounds unless I'm down here. Not that they take anything, but I want to make sure that everything is accounted for so that they have a record. I'm curious as to how many of you have been taking time out to do the competition that's going on daily. For those of you that haven't taken advantage of it, uh, uh, people like Doug Harding, Ogre Coins, and whatnot, these guys are doing the research, and this is what I'm trying to get you to do: is do the research on the coins, whether it be online through Coins in Canada or using the Charlton books or whatever resources you might have at hand. And whoever does the most effort uh, at the end of 7 days will get a sticker or more, depending on how much effort you take. I actually throw in a little extra at times. And we've already given out the 42-day prize, which is a 5 ounce copper round. We got another one coming out at 84 days, and that'll be my final one for this challenge. For those that really are diligent about doing the research, and I mean, I get people coming in and they say, "Oh, nice looking coin. I think that's the queen." Well, that's not exactly what I call tremendous researcher. Or I don't know what this coin is, but it looks pretty. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Oh, well done, Ogre Coins. Yeah, yeah. It's it's a fun collection, and it's one that's not quite as uh, what's the right word when I compare it to our U.S. collections. The U.S. have got a huge collection, goes way back. Whereas Canadian, if you're talking Canadian proper, 1858, uh, and of course, when we get into Confederation and we move on, we have specific styles, not as diverse as the U.S. collection. But I think that's one of the reasons why I like it so much. But um, by all means, if you're a collector and you really like, especially in North America, I think it's prudent to do U.S., Canadian, and even I'd like doing the British or if you're into Mexican coins, they got some really nice stuff down there too. Uh, it's always good to have a little bit of each. I took a page from the I printed it from the internet of all the countries on the planet, the current countries, and I printed the sheets out, and I take that sheet to my local coin store, or I check against it online if there's someone who wants to trade with me, and I let them know which world coins I'm missing, and by doing that, I can do a check. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but I want to have at least one from every country, current and past countries, because a lot of countries have disappeared. Uh, uh, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah. I worked backwards on my Canadian collection. I worked backwards. I didn't start collecting until I was 65 years of age. So you're only talking, 6 7 years here. So I started working backwards, and the way I started is a gentleman, a friend of mine, came approached me and said, "Look, I inherited a collection from my mother, and if you help me sort this stuff out, I'll give you all my extras." And it was so significant. I actually went out and I bought him the entire 14 volume set of the Vista albums from Lighthouse, which is somewhere around $300 for the 14 albums. But it was well worth it, because by the time I finished, I probably saved myself about 10 years of collecting. I'd gotten so, and of course he had a huge collection, so that was a lot of fun, and that's what basically primed the pump for me and got me into collecting, and I haven't looked back. So I tend to, as many of the newer collectors do, they tend to work backwards and get the newer coins first and work their way back. then you start hitting the brick wall, and you've got the key dates and whatnot, and you start seeing how valuable some of these coins are. Yeah, you know what? You're right. The Lighthouse albums are nice. I don't like the covers. The insides, I think. Now they've got two sets. They got the Vista albums. I've got the this is the Vista album here. Okay, they're not bad, and the insides remind me of the Dansko albums. I mean, they're the same, good quality, but the information they provide, including details on the years and where they were minted, and the shows the different mintages in the back, and so you can tell which ones are key date at a glance. That's beautiful. But they have another set, but unfortunately the albums are gorgeous, but the sheets inside don't have any details, so you don't have any dates or anything on it. And I'd like to have that other set, but that's really expensive. But I hear little bird tells me that Dansko is now back in operation, and you can actually get Dansko albums for half the price you were getting them before. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yeah, my $1 Canadian silver ones really look nice. I don't know if did I bring that out? Is that hiding? Oh, it's hiding. Right. Slide my way over. Working on these. Okay. So they very clearly mark, like this one's the 1935 to 67. Those are all silver, and as you can see, they get it in there. They do show up, and of course the 47 Maple Leaf and the 48 are missing, but those are the only two that I'm missing out of the album, except for maybe some of the variations that they have. But those are my silver, and it does look good with the dark. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Stay there. Yeah. The only thing I haven't done is a lot of folks, and I mean, if I had a 47 Maple Leaf or 48, I probably would, depending on how good a shape they're in, get them graded and get them slabbed. But if they were lower quality, I'll just keep them in the album. Yeah, I know you're lurking. Yeah, the other thing that I've been working on lately, besides the coins, is trying to get some help with the improving my videos. I got myself a rig that I'm still trying to figure out for wandering around all these weird and wonderful little toys, and got a new selfie stick here that I'm using. It's the programs that I'm having issues with trying to learn them. Again, it's fun being a content creator, but it's a heck of a challenge trying to learn all these programs on your own. I'm not a good one for distant learning or trying to watch videos. I get some stuff out of it, but I really like having someone sit next to me. Darren, Dimebag Darren Lowe, he showed up at my house there a couple of weeks ago, and he helped me a lot in just a few minutes because he could physically show, and I'm watching what he's doing. And boy, oh boy, I learned more than the few minutes that he spent with me than all the time I was trying to figure the stuff out myself. Yeah, you know what? I'm impressed by anybody that has really worked hard on their collections. And some of these older coins, especially the ones that are getting into the classical numismatics, these guys impress the heck out of me because I just don't. Maybe it's my age. I don't have the patience to actually spend the time to research some of these bloody things. Uh, I traded I traded my dot 36 watch. No, it's not. It was a penny. It was looked like a penny, and I traded for a guy that gave me I think it was 18 ancient coins, which I figured, okay, that's pretty cool. I want to get into them. Well, it didn't take me very long to realize how hard it is to identify those bloody things. I mean, we have there are books and they have wild winds online here that you can use to uh, do research. But because of the fact that they are either an ancient Greek or the Roman coins, with Latin inscriptions and so many different periods of time with different emperors and slight little variations, it is a whole new world when you're looking at trying to identify hammered coins. And so even if you think you've done a diligent job of doing an attribution on a coin, it's you are a special person. You are a unique numismatist, I'll tell you, because that is a tough, tough way to collect. You got to really like your research. I'm in the process of getting rid of a lot of my collection. I want to be more nomadic when I retire. I don't need the anchors of a lot of stuff to put in the storage, most of the older and rare. Yeah, I feel for you. I am actually, that's one of the reasons why I've started to get very diligent about cataloging my collection because once I get to the stage, either I'm in a senior's residence or I pop my clogs. I don't want the collection to be go to my family that they don't know what it is or how valuable it might be. A lot of dealers are shady, so you don't want them to be taken advantage of. So um, you do the best you can. Now, if you want to liquidate, I liquidated and I'm feeling it. I liquidated my entire U.S. collection last fall, and I miss it. I'm going, oh heck! I tried to fill the slot with doing more metal detecting, but I'm all busted. I got to get my hip fixed so I can get out there and do things and keep my mind active and not think about what I gave up. Yeah, that's another thing too. I agree. If they're not collectors, that's why you either uh, get rid of it yourself so that you can at least sell it to people who have an idea how much the value of the collection is, or at least again catalog it so that they know how much it's worth. Because unless I only have one in my family, my grandson, he's into collecting. So every time I get duplicates or whatever, or when I renew my, I get a new coin book every year to keep it up. I'll send him my old one, so he's always got one in his hands. And eventually, a part of my collection will go to him. But you know, if you take a look at your stats on if you're a coin channel like mine, and see who the average or what the average age is of those that are viewing your material. And I don't have any young folks in watching my videos at all. I think the majority of them are getting into their middle age and older. Yeah, you know what? It really does make a difference. I love it when he comes over and he sits down and he's like a he's like, "Ooh, wow, look at this. Oh, it's cool." And it's kind of nice to see that at least one person in the family's cool on the hobby. Um, I try to talk sense into my son who's now turning, he turns 51 here shortly. I'm trying to get him into it, and he just doesn't see it. And it's such, come on, hey, as the shirt says, I'm a crazy person who pays money for more money. But what a hobby, because the one thing that you can honestly say about a numismatist is that we can be flat broke, but we still have money, which is kind of cool. Yeah. Oh, flashing a pan. I just noticed. I was watching a video the other day, and it's guys down in Australia uh, looking for gold, and I guess they found quite a chunky one down there too. Uh, one nugget's worth about $14,000 for one nugget. That's a good size nugget. I would love to get down to the river and get some pan. As soon as I get my hip fixed up a little bit here, other than that, I'm I don't want to be wandering around with my walker, trying to either metal detect or trying to gold pan. My son was saying, "Well, why don't you go down and do some gold pan?" I said, "Because I got to find myself something I can fit myself into to float in the water because I can't bend." Yeah, yeah, they do find some nice ones. Uh, you see so many that are out there that are doing looking for gold, and that is really a really, in my mind, so relaxing. Yeah, you're tired at the end of the day, and if you happen to find some good stuff, great. But it's just a chance to relax and get out of the city. Oh, I'm in Alberta. I'm actually in central Alberta and in Edmonton. Um, Big place. Alberta is about three times the size of Texas. It's a big, 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 big place. Yeah, yeah, that's right. It is. It is. It is creek therapy. It's and even little things like the sound of the water, I find relaxing. Uh, it just getting out with nature, and as long as I don't run into any grizzly bears, and actually we get have a fair number of black bear in my area, but yeah, Alberta has a very rich gold mining history. Absolutely. Yeah, I was down. In fact, I was down in Ghost River at the crossing. Beautiful area. Oh man, I got down there. Was there for training, and here I am sitting by the bank, and I didn't have my gold pan with me. It was driving me nuts. I'm like, oh wow, this is perfect. So we sat down there, got a campfire going, and relaxed, and just enjoyed the environment. I think the only thing I enjoyed about that trip was the fact that up at the I don't know what you would call it. It's not really a hotel. It's almost like a bed and breakfast, but it's in the middle of nowhere. They had a 5-star Michelin chef up there, and I like to eat, so it was really nice. Well, so what is everybody else doing today? Is there any plans for this wonderful Monday? Not our, no, I'm not just, I can't disagree with that. I should have had a pan in there, but I really didn't know what to expect the first time I went out there. Yeah, actually, I do carry a loop too. I always carry a loop with me, and it drives my wife nuts when I go into any store because she doesn't want me to get to the cash register first. Uh, I get the change even when she gets pushes ahead of me and gets the change. I'm like, let me see. No, no, you can look at it later. I'm not going to show you. Yeah, it's always handy to have a loop with you. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing the stuff that you can find. The other day, I got change, and the woman brings up and says, "Oh, what is this? This isn't a loonie." I looked at it. It's a Sacagawea. I says, "That's an American dollar." I says, "I'll take that." Okay, you can have it. Yeah, yeah. These days, I'm constantly looking at trying to find new coins in my change. I don't know how many you do that, but I have a sorting tray. I get one here. That's actually magnetic, as you can tell. And then I have a multitude of different ones up here. I sort them by denomination. So that one's all my toonies. And I look for unique specimens. Yeah, exactly. The US why would I turn down a US dollar when I know it's worth that much more? I go, yeah, okay. What do we have here? I haven't even looked at these ones. Anything unusual. This is almost as good as looking for rolls. I just basically done. Oh, look at that. What is that? Oh, the 67. Oh, yeah. See, it's like okay, I'll take that. I saw that in the till the other day. It said, "Yeah, you want to get rid of that? I'll get rid of. I'll take it." Again, worth more. Oh, that's cool. William, boy, I miss you, matey. Haven't seen you in a long while. I have won quite a few off your channel. You doggone right, I did. It's worth going to. It's a lot of fun too. I asked them as well. Yeah, I do the same thing. Oh, oh! I got someone sitting in the basement. She's been twiddling her thumbs forever. And here is Rebecca.
Hello.
Hi. How did I miss you? I got to look down. What do you got there?
64 penny.
Oh, cool.
Let's see if I get my camera up here so you guys can see this. It says 64. That's what. And I went to the coin place. As you see, I got all of those in there.
Aha.
So I'm guessing if I find some older dimes, I can still put them in the penny one, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, but I now don't have all those pennies that are sitting against each other.
Well, that's typical.
Got them in here.
Yeah. Yeah, when you start, especially, and they don't even have to be valuable. If you want to start sorting them by date, then you're well on your way to building your collection and getting an idea what you have.
Definitely. So I think I've got some 1921s in here. I don't know if I've labeled these yet. I need to start writing on them. I think that's a 45. No, 44. That one's a 44.
Yeah, the only thing with the flips, when you show them, it's really hard to make out what they are online.
Yeah. See, I wrote on this one, 21.
Yeah.
And I also have a 20 and a 25 and a 37. So I have written on some of these. Kind of makes it nice.
Very cool.
That's what I started doing.
Excellent.
All I seem to find is, and I figured a 64 was kind of worth something besides a penny.
Well, where I'm living, it's a little harder to get U.S. stuff, and what stuff I do get isn't exactly what you would call high quality. But I've got the odd one. I get stuff like that every once. So you can see that's a star note.
Oh,
that's a silver certificate, which is a little different. And then I picked up this one as well. Again, not in great shape, but it's, what? I'm up in Canada. I'm lucky to get anything at all up here. If I was close to the border, that would be a whole different story. These guys that live so close to the U.S. border are really lucky because they get a lot of American change and whatnot. Not up here. It's tough getting it.
Yeah, definitely. I found this in my change. I figured, hey, may as well do a 64.
Yeah.
You know what? I guess everybody knows what this is.
The green box.
It's for recipes.
Yes. I have a recipe box. I inherited from my mother, but it's ceramic.
I'm reading what this org coin said at William E.
Yes, William.
Just kind of.
You can, especially if you got an awful lot that hasn't been sorted and cataloged. When you're at the stage where you got bags or boxes full of this stuff, it is overwhelming. I mean, it takes a long time. Like I say, when I got started, my buddy had, I think it weighed somewhere around 20 pounds of nothing but change and collections, and it was just thrown in a big box, and I spent probably the full week sorting that out. for him, and that's how I started my collection, because he gave me all the duplicates. So his was all sorted out, and I used Ziploc bags. There you go. Now that this is for this year, for this country, blah blah blah. And I said, now you got to get yourself some albums. Well, I ended up getting him 14 albums to start his Canadian, and that kept him busy for a while.
I'm guessing that I could even get this thing that I could put those coins in, and
Oh, you know what? You can get these the generic 2x2 the sheets for the 2x2s, and get yourself just an album. I went in
or even a binder or something.
Yeah, I'll show you what I did with my Great Britain one. Got two of them here. But squish over. Okay, I just picked myself up an album. This is the one I did for Coins of Great Britain. I just printed it off my printer. Of course, I didn't have color. That didn't help. I'll show you a little bit bigger here so you can see what I did. There you go. And essentially, when I get any coins or currency, I just put them in there, and I try to do it by date and by denomination. And these are my British coins I've done, and it's also got pre-decimal coins in there as well. So it's a lot of fun to do it. It just takes a little bit of work. But once you have it set up, then it's easy as you get some new stuff, or if you want to look up what ones are available, and just leave a couple blank ones there so that you can add to it. I like the 50 pence because the 50p's are not that expensive, except for the key dates like the Kew Gardens. And you got all the different ones. And I even got some of the ones from their territories that they have, which is kind of cool. And some real old stuff like this one. How old is that one there? Yeah. What is that? I haven't seen this in a while. Oh, 1421.
Whoa.
Yeah. So you can get some really, really old ones there. Yeah, not like Canada or the US where it's fairly new. Even florins and stuff, like get stuff like from 1918 and stuff. It's kind of cool. So that's what I did with my British. Now I keep the British separate from my world coins. World coins are again in alphabetical order by nation, and they're a lot of fun to do. But boy, oh boy, a lot of countries out there. Albums fighting with me here. Okay. The other thing too is if you go to a coin store, you get a decent one. Sometimes they'll have albums on sale. I bought this one here for $7 Canadian, or $3 or $4 US. But it's a monster. As you can see, that's a big album, and that cost me, like I say, $7 Canadian. And see if I can open this up so it doesn't make a mess. Oh, there you go. This is my list that I use for checking off the countries that I have, all in alphabetical order. And this monster, I'm going to have to get myself an elastic band for this thing because the sheets keep popping the rings. But again, just put them. You just put them in order. And I even have in this particular one because my Canadians, I don't have a one for separate one for Canada. Believe it or not, I do things like this. That's 25 cents, by the way. That's called a shin plaster. And again, all the different bills. That's actually in my World album.
Wow.
So I've included. And you know what? The artwork on these things, it's the artwork that I love. I mean, they got some beautiful, beautiful pieces of art on these bills.
I definitely got it. I definitely got a good find today.
What did you find today, Rebecca?
Pinking shears.
Really?
Yes.
Now, what are you going to use with pinking shears? Oh, I remember. My mother used to have those.
Pinking shears.
Yeah, I haven't seen those in years.
What really surprised me, I found these at the senior center.
Yeah.
And trust me, they're worth more than that. $4.
Good deal.
These ones are from Italy. I know how expensive these things are, and this one is either Weiss or Rice. It's WISS.
Yeah.
This one was $5. I'm like, guys, yeah, I'm buying those. So, yeah.
Well, you know, it's nice to have those sort of tools in your repertoire.
Oh, definitely.
It's just like we coin collectors, we should have the tools of our trade as well. And that includes well, not just loops, but everything from earth magnets to calipers to scales, you name it, should have all that stuff. Coin microscope, extremely handy.
I've tried to use the loop and I couldn't do it.
What, you're too loopy?
No, I'm not loopy. It's I guess because I have astigmatism.
Oh, okay, yeah, that would make it harder.
You know, it definitely does. So I just get a very good magnifying glass.
Right.
I think the reason I haven't got a date on this one is because I can't really see it. I have no clue.
Yeah, especially with the U.S. coins, I think, and any of you guys out there can correct me if I'm off on a tangent here. But when you have those 2x2 flips, it's nice to not only put down the date, but depending, of course, on the metal contact. If it's silver, I always put AG and the percentage of the silver. Put down the country of origin, and it happens to be a state quarter. You put down the state or a unique one that has a theme, and always put down the mint that you guys get, because you got the Philadelphia and Denver and San Francisco and
San Francisco, yes,
yeah, and some of the older ones, even New Orleans.
All I know is about San Francisco, Denver, and Pennsylvania.
Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's the only ones I know about. It's those three mints. But yeah, I'm wondering how much that guy that sharpens these scissors, how much he's going to charge. But yeah, you can definitely tell the pinking shears of nowadays.
Yeah.
The weight of these are heavy.
Hmm.
This is a really nice. I like this longer one. And
Yeah.
there's my friend Des. She doesn't know that she's going to get one of these.
Oh, nice. That's
Because she does the buy a USB microscope, and it helps with
that
training
one
your eyes.
that one cost me $30 US. Not very expensive.
Oh, okay.
And I got I can't remember the name of the coin channel now. I got it off of, but it's not the best. But you know what? I use it with OBS, and boy, oh boy, does it work good. And for the price, it saves the eyeballs. And can you ever see the details?
That'll be nice. I will definitely look into that one. Because as your eyes get older, cataracts.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah, I've got cataracts, and
Oh,
most people don't know, but I have trifocals. I don't have.
You had to do one up me. So my bifocals are nothing now. Trifocals.
I don't have that, that mid range anymore. It's like,
If you get any more focals, you'd be like a fly with all these little.
yes.
Yeah, William's got a good point. Don't use a fine Sharpie.
I used a pin on this one,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't have a D or anything like that. It just said 21.
Well, yeah, if it's blank, it's a Philadelphia.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm learning something today.
Yeah.
Because you would think that they would put, I guess they only put the S and the D on them.
Yes, that's right.
And if it doesn't have anything, then it's
automatic Philly. Yeah.
Automatic Philadelphia. Okay. You're teaching me some things.
And I'm not American.
Do you know my father wasn't very honest with the Army.
Why?
He said his birthday was in 1920.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, on his driver's license, it said he was born in 21. I'm like, oh, Dad.
I'm sorry, but that feels very comfortable to me. You know why? Because I lied about my age when I enlisted.
Okay.
I was 15.
Whoa.
Yeah, my God bless her soul. My mother was a bootlegger, and she used to run poker games for the Detroit mob. And so I got to know all these gangsters from Detroit. So one of them, I convinced me to get me some false ID because I wanted to get out of there. And I tried to enlist in the American Army to go to Vietnam. It got bounced. I couldn't get my green card. So I enlisted in the Canadian Army at 15 years of age. Well, I got caught at 17. My mother went searching for me, and she found me. And I got called into my commanding officer's room, and he's going, "Conlon, you know why you're here?" No. Why? He says, "Because, first off, how old are you?" And I said, "I'm 19. He says, "No, you're not." He says, "You are 17. You have been drinking and carousing and doing soldierly stuff way too young without permission. You lied about your enlistment." So I got charged, and I spent 20 days in the military jail. And then afterwards, he says, "Okay, you have a choice. You can either stay in or you can get out." And I chose to stay in. So I actually enlisted at 15 years of age. I did my digger time, and I stayed right through and retired on a full pension with 22 years service at 37 years of age.
Wow. In fact, my father was only in the Army for 9 months. They did a medical discharge because he had a brain tumor.
Oh,
And
that's bad.
my mom met him, and my grandmother didn't like my dad. She kept telling Mom he's on drugs, and Mom says no, he's not. He's got a brain tumor. So they operated on it and took it out. You know.
Yeah, I was forced to retire early myself because of a back injury, which it was still plaguing me. But
Like, do you want the good news about Ronald?
yes, I want to hear about Ronald.
The surgeons, he did his appointment today, and they said that they do not, unless he's in excruciatingly painful, with a T4. It wasn't T3, it was just T4, the top part of T4.
Right.
So it on the X-ray it looked like both T3 and T4, but it was T4 at the top that he fractured. And the doctor basically said, if you're not in a lot of pain, I mean, when he went there, he was at 5. So then, I asked him, I says, hey, can he get some, lidocaine patches? Well, his insurance company wouldn't pay for them. To get the 5%, it was $50. $50. And I'm like, So the pharmacist told me that they have 4%. So we went and got those for $7. I'm like, what? Crazy. So we put that on his back. You put it on for 12 hours. You take it off. Then you put it, you have it off for 12 hours and then back on. Yeah.
And it absorbs through the skin.
It does.
It's something like diclofenac.
Yeah.
It works through the skin.
And he definitely said his back was feeling better, and it was really funny. It's when he coughs or he breathes deep. That's when it hurts. That's when it hurts really bad. But my prayer was answered. He's not having surgery.
Well, that's good. That's good.
So the only time they do surgery on this is if he's in like a 10, level 10, and he's not, So they want him back in 6 weeks just to see how it's healing. I think it'll be fine for another until late August. He's not supposed to lift anything over 15 pounds, but I'm saying 10 pounds.
Right.
Just to play it on the safe side.
Yeah, that's a good point, William. Yeah, watch for rashes to see if there's no anything blistering as well.
Yes. Yeah, I certainly will. William. I'll keep an eye on his back, and it's taking care of my brother.
That's it. So do you have anything else planned for the week?
Making more hats.
Yeah.
And getting ready for my birthday celebration.
Wow.
Yeah.
Another milestone. Woo-hoo.
Another milestone. I'm going to be 36.
Oh, is your name Jack Benny? Oh, Jack Benny always said he was 39.
I'm flopping it.
I could always reverse mine. Now I'm 17. But anyway, yeah. All I'm doing this week is getting ready for a garage sale, and I'm putting some stuff up on Carrot, which is our local. It's a marketplace, social, on social media.
They have Facebook Marketplace has that too.
Yeah, I have it too. Yeah, I've used that as well.
It's really nice to be able to.
Well, I have the downside. You got 3 more beings moving into my house now. and they're taking up the upper level. So everything's gonna squashed down, and I discovered maybe I am a bit of a pack rat because I it broke my heart. I have held on to my stereo for 52 years. A beautiful Montessori had a turntable, 8-track, AM/FM radio. It had tubes, but I mean, it was one of those big floor models. My wife wouldn't allow it in the house, so I had to keep it in the garage. So whenever I worked in the garage, I turned the thing on. It was great. Well, she twisted my arm. She says, "That's it. We're downsizing. You can't take it with you. Get rid of it." So it went to 1-800 got junk, and I almost cried when they picked it up. And the guy that looks at me goes, "Don't worry, we'll take care of it for you." 52
Wow.
years. But anyway, that's gone now. So and clothing, tons of clothing. Value Village is freaking getting lots of stuff from me.
I am like, I've got too much. You know, I have this tiny little closet in my bedroom, and there's too much. And in fact, this thing is, if you look at it, look how big this is on me.
Uh-huh.
It's
Comfortable,
like,
huh?
it is comfortable.
That's what I do with mine. I held back the big ones because, oh well, I can fit in these. Yeah.
Oh, it's kind of like I've lost a lot of weight, you know.
Good for you. I've started my Herbalife diet. I shouldn't call it a diet. It's supposed to be a lifestyle, but I was on it before. I lost 80 pounds. It was great, but I've discovered ever since I had my facial surgery and I got my taste buds back. I like eating too much. I like the flavor of foods again. So it's made. So when I'm drinking with Herbalife, it's mostly shakes, protein shakes and stuff. Well, I can't do that liquid shake. I can do one meal a day. I'll replace it. I'll calorie count so I don't do more than 2,100 calories a day. Yes, I'm losing weight, but damned if I'm going to go to strictly protein shakes. I can't do it. I just can't. I need something to chew on.
Well, yesterday I took, you know, those plastic containers of baby spinach,
Yes.
the big ones. I put those in my olive oil and put that in my stock pot, and I cooked that down. And then I had some zucchini that I cut up, onions, mushrooms, and turkey breakfast sausage. Put that all together. Oh my gosh. We had that for, as I call it, breakfast, because I ate it at about 11 o'clock. And then last night for dinner. And oh my gosh, it was so good. We sprinkled some cheese on it. And, oh, it was so good. You know, just eating a little bit different.
Yep. I miss eating spinach. It's completely taboo now because too much iron. Not allowed iron. I'm not supposed to eat broccoli, spinach, fish, rare meats, stuff like that. It's like, okay. And then the doctor comes back. He says, well, you know what? You're doing okay. Your ferritin's down. Just don't make a habit of having it every single day. I said, you mean to say that I can have fish and chips once a week? He says, oh, yeah. Well, so nothing's changed. Every Friday, I'll have fish and chips.
I'm going to grab something real quick. My doctor says I'm not drinking enough.
Ah.
I'm getting my bottle of water.
Oh.
Man, did you hear that snap?
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, the only thing I have got to do is get out my daily videos this week, and work around the house continually to get it ready for the kids when they move back in.
I remember that back in the day that families just stayed together. They'd make a small little room for the mother and father, and the family would cook for them instead of putting them in convalescent centers.
Mm. I won't touch mushy peas with a 10-foot pole, Christopher. My wife eats them, but they're disgusting. They're definitely something that you have to grow up with because.
Do you like split pea soup?
Oh, but you cannot compare split pea soup to mushy peas.
No.
Picture. What's the best way to describe them? They remind me of overcooked peas that are squashed that taste of baking soda.
Oh.
It's like I gag even thinking about it, but my wife loves her mushy peas.
I will put peas in with when I'm cooking up noodles, for macaroni and cheese.
Right.
And I'll put a can of peas in there. Sweet, not sweet peas.
Right.
In there with it, and it makes one dish where you're only having to wash one thing. And I love cream peas, so it's with cheese and stuff. So good.
Well, I like the sweet peas too, especially with my mashed potatoes and gravy and roast beef. And okay, I'm getting hungry. Actually, I made homemade spaghetti yesterday.
I think you're going to be a little bit surprised what I'm going to cook for my birthday. I think it was May. Yeah, it was either May or June that when I went shopping at the pantry, someone had donated a leg of lamb roast. And I'm going to cook that leg of lamb roast for my birthday.
Oh, enjoy.
Oh, I will. Certainly will. It's going to be so good. I thought, looking through there, I thought, ooh, grabbed it.
Well, I'm going to be wandering off here in the next 3 minutes or so because I'm going to put on leftover spaghetti, and I always do up French fries with it. Talk about unhealthy. Double starch. But it's a tradition whenever I make spaghetti and there's leftovers, we have French fries with them on the side.
I've never done that one. Do you know, I watched someone eat a raw okra. You don't eat okra. You don't eat okra raw.
I don't eat okra, period.
Oh, I do eat okra. Someone was saying, oh, they don't like okra because it.
I like it, and I like it in like a jambalaya or something along that lines. But
I like fried okra, but you got to make sure that they're not slimy on the inside. And someone did not cook. Someone was showing what they look like when someone was cooking those that okra. They didn't do it right because fried okra is not slimy. It's not.
I hope not. If it's slimy after you fry it, there's something wrong.
There is something wrong. Definitely. Love fried okra. I dip it in blue cheese dressing. Love blue cheese dressing. But yeah, I need to fry up some okra. That's what. Oh, you got 20 seconds.
I do. Yeah, I'm gonna put that together, and I just want to wish everybody a wonderful week, and thank you for dropping by. Again, I'm patiently waiting for my buddy Dale to finally finish his move. Uh, his location he's moving to looks absolutely gorgeous. And so I'm pretty sure that after they have to fix up this place so it's like brand new for him. So he's walking into a lovely new home in the right smack dab in the middle of England, which I think is very cool, and gives me another place to visit once I finally get over to see my wife's relatives, which eventually I have to.
Yeah,
Over
you
there.
do need to go. You do need to go see the in-laws.
I'll walk. Well, not really. My mother-in-law and father-in-law are long gone, but we got the rest of the extended family over there, and their favorite pastime is hanging out at the pub. Well, the old skipper here gave up drinking 30 years ago, so here comes this guy that looks very Christmassy walking in, and I'm not even going to tell them who I am right away because I know what they look like. So I'm looking forward to that. But Dale, I would love to go see. Same with Kyle. He's down in Wales, Taffy Coins. I'd love to visit them too. England is, once you get out of the big cities like London, those small towns, they are so cool. They got so much history, it's just mind-boggling. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, it was great being up here, and
yeah, thank you for joining me.
Not a problem.
And thank everybody else for hanging out, getting a little bit of Canadian history under your belt, and chit-chatting about coins and all kinds of things. So in the meantime and in between time, we will catch you all next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Not a problem.
Hey, take care, everyone.